I have a 9-year-old daughter at home, and she's absolutely gorgeous, and I love her to bits. But she talks back and she refuses to clean her room. I assume that that'll get cured when she turns 13.
Good luck.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah.
Hi Booktopians, we're joined today by Cathy, Wilcox and Sarah MacDonald, authors of So You're Having a Teenager, an A to Z of adolescence, which you can get right now on booktopia.com.au. Welcome guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, good to be here.
So I wanted to ask you a few questions because I have a 9-year-old daughter at home, and she's absolutely gorgeous and I love her to bits. But she talks back and she refuses to clean her room. I assume that that'll get cured when she turns 13.
Good luck.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah.
Just you've got your training wheels on already, so you're all ready for teenagehood. Just, the room, don't worry about it. Unless it's a biohazard and there's food and things growing in there that are not your daughter, don't worry about the room. Just don't go in there too much. Yeah, and it's all right for you to kind of establish minimum standards. Say this is how it has to be. That's because you're in my house. When you're in your house, you can live in a pigsty if you want to.
Okay, good advice.
I reckon let it be messy. So, this is the thing. You've got to work out what you can handle, right? And depending on what else is going on, whatever the biggest thing is. But gradually, the room becomes less important as other teenage issues come into play when she becomes a teenager.
Yeah, in a few years you'll be begging her to just have a messy room.
Yeah.
Please, can we go back to those times?
I might just keep the door closed.
Always
That's
the
right.
thing.
Put a window open, hygiene.
Yeah. She also doesn't like it when my partner sings in public, which usually prompts him at the moment to sing louder.
Yep.
Is this a winning strategy for dealing with embarrassment? And should he start incorporating her name into the songs?
I think that's a very, very good way to go. I have generally managed to, cut short the complaint about, oh mum, you are so embarrassing, by retorting that is in fact my job at the moment, is to be embarrassing as his mother. So I think your partner should go with full throat and definitely songs about the daughter is a great idea.
Yeah, it's also good to add a dance in as they go through puberty because, when you add some movement in and some sort of jazz ballet moves, you're going to hit maximum sort of freak out from her, but you may end up in a TikTok video, just to warn you. So, they might edit that all together. The thing is, I don't know, in terms of embarrassment, it is almost too easy though, really. You've got to kind of lift your game as they get older because you're just embarrassing by walking, talking, breathing. Really, you won't need to do the dancing and singing when she hits full teenagehood. It's just shooting fish in a barrel.
Okay, good. Something horrible happened to me over Christmas break. A teenager was very mean to me.
Oh.
So I was playing Xbox with my nephews, and every time I lost at Mario Kart, they would call me a boomer. And then when I explained to them that actually I'm in my late 30s, so I'm an elder millennial, they boomered me.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
Explaining anything.
How do you deal with that level of just...
Totally, that level of wokeness in a small person.
That level of it just made me feel old, and not with it.
Yeah. The thing is about the OK Boomer, I tried whatever Zoomer back to mine, and he just went, "Don't even try it. That's embarrassing." But actually, the thing is that the Boomer thing is not going; it's going down, right? So from Boomer to X. I'm an X, it's gone down to millennial. My son was saying basically anyone over the age of 16 will be a boomer by sort of, the middle of this year. So it's coming down, it's the short attention span, it's how things are going, but then it'll be out of the lexicon and no one will remember it existed. So just deal with it.
And also, as in all those things where to resist is sometimes the wrong strategy, and you've actually got to go with things.
Yeah.
So then if you start, maybe dressing in walk shorts and sensible loafers and kind of adopting a few more boomerish kind of characteristics to go, you're right, I felt really comfortable when you called me boomer the other day, and I really want to embrace that. Yeah, or tell them stories about, your days in the golf club or something like that,
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
I love the story. I think that strategy that we used when our children were even smaller, which was when they, if on the rare occasion that the tantrum might happen, that they would start railing about something and shouting about it, you'd shout back at them in the same way, and they just look completely shocked and like, oh my gosh, is that what I look like? I don't know. And so sometimes, coming back up and giving it to them both barrels. Like,
I don't know, you'd get a level of decibel that could bring the roof down on that one, Cathy. I'm not sure about that. The thing is that they do speed up time if you've got a teenager in the house, so you will feel like a burner.
Okay.
Yeah, deal with it. Deal with it, old dude.
Old timer. Well, let's go down to the club now, I reckon. Nice game of bingo and a book chop.
Now I just feel sad. So we're already struggling a little bit with screen time. What are some strategies that we could adapt to kind of set ourselves up for a successful negotiation of screen time in the teenage years?
Look, you can read entire books about screen time, and I've tried lots of the suggestions that they make.
You can also read them online.
Yeah, you can read them online as well and increase your screen time. One thing we do point out in here, and we have got some strategies in here, but one thing I would say is watch your own screen time, because kids and teenagers are really alert to hypocrisy. And if you're on your phone going, get off your screen, what's the response going to be? Okay, burner, right? So you've got to watch your own screen time and set a standard. I mean, we know people who lock them up in safes at the end of the school day, who refuse to let them be in the room. Everyone has to set up their own paradigm, but I would say watch your own behaviour first, and no phones in the room after a certain time at night, and no laptops in the room at night, because expecting them to have self-control at certain ages is really tricky when we often don't have it ourselves.
Yeah, I reckon we caught that one too late as well, in a way that the boundaries had already been stretched to a point where by the time the child was 15 or so, saying at that point, no, you can't have that, we'll turn that off by 8:30 or whatever. It was a little bit like the horse had already bolted, and so I would say remember that it's kind of your job to set those boundaries early, and allow them to be challenged by negotiation thereafter, but setting them tight to begin with, I think is probably a good starting point, because it's much harder to reel it in later. And as Sarah says, if you find it impossible to put the thing down yourself, then it's you realise that if you can't be the adult, then your kid also can't be the adult in your place.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. What prompted you to write this book?
Well, Sarah and I, Sarah moved into my street, and she had a dog, and we both had kids, and we knew each other from the neighbourhood because we run into each other, and we know vaguely what was happening, where our kids were at, what schools, and so we'd always talk about stuff. And then I started going and walking her dog with her in the morning, and that seemed wrong without a dog myself. So I got a dog as well, and that made walking much more fun. And
it's a good idea when your child becomes a teenager to get a dog, so you have got someone to cuddle you and talk to. So
that's right. I know.
I said get a dog.
The lack of walking into the door and having someone excited to see you was starting to eat at me, because teenagers don't exhibit any excitement at seeing you in the afternoon. But a dog always is glad to see you, so that was for my self-esteem. Anyway, Sarah and I would go walking, and we'd go talking about what the kids were doing, and whether it was about our own kids or about their peers and what was going on and all that sort of thing. And we, occasionally we just kind of go, oh my God, there's a book in this, isn't there? And
there aren't many teenage books. There's so many books about kids. There's, so you're having a baby and the woman in the rocking chair. There's all these books, and then it's like they just don't tell you what happens afterwards, or you can get the really serious, intense books. But what we really wanted was a companion guide that you could sit and have a laugh at, to know you weren't alone in this, that had information and that was fun and a bit pithy and could laugh with you. So we thought there isn't something like that, so let's write it and let's do it. So that's what happened.
Great. In the process of writing this book, did you gain a new appreciation for teenagers or a new perspective on kind of that time in life?
So while everybody complains about teenagers, this is not a book of, terrible moaning and
It's not an okay
fear
boomer
and
book.
loathing. It's not an okay boomer book. That what we learned as we went as well and talking to other parents about teenagers is that they are wonderful. Like, we love them. They're a great generation. They've got a lot to deal with. You look what's happening at the world at the moment that they're inheriting. Quite rightly, they're pretty cross at us.
Yeah.
And I love their energy and spirit. I think they're a great generation. But yeah, they're hard to live with. So that's what I kind of, as we went, we thought that more and more, didn't we? We were hearing stories from people because people wanted to tell us stuff, and we were looking into some of the research. And actually, they're an interesting, wonderfully lovable generation, and that just reinforced that to me as we went. You learnt more about how kids game because your kids hadn't done that in terms of on the gaming.
I learned the sort of the mainstream stuff because somehow I managed to have two kids that were very, very not mainstream. So I'm kind of sometimes venturing in from the margins in some way. But I guess that's also because I suppose I was mainstream in a lot of ways, or my upbringing was, and so I have kind of perspective of all right, we didn't do the same things the way I grew up. We've done things differently with my kids, and I would see the bewilderment. Thank you very much.
Being in the wilderness.
The bewilderment
Having a
of my
teenager.
own children also at not knowing how to kind of run with the pack, and I'd go, oh, I knew how to do that kind of when I was there. So looking at it from the outside, but it's been interesting then to consider the whole cohort, and also to know how many stories of people that we know who've kind of gone, oh my gosh, I never was prepared for this sort of difficult time. A lot of kids go through a pretty dark old time.
I think they do.
In the teenage years, and
so do their parents. It can be really hard watching this child you love and adore go through so much. It can be a really, really awful time and a very confusing time. But it can also be a joyful and funny time. So we wanted to combine that, I suppose, in the book. But, we do say in there, if you're really worried, go to a professional. We're not pretending to be absolute experts in teenage mental health, and yet there are a lot of challenges that they face.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for writing this book. It's a wonderful companion to having a teenager, and you can buy it right now on booktopia.com.au. Sarah MacDonald, Cathy Wilcox, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great.